Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is CringeyJesse and this is another episode of my career in the cringy universe of Formula 123. As you can see, I am in qualifying this week as we skipped last week due to engine components being put on the car and me not really wanting to ruin them, as we already have one of the weakest cars, if not the weakest car on the grid. And I just want my engine components to last as long as possible as we are nearing the end of our first season here in Japan this week. And as we near the end of our one and only lap that we did in Q1, because I thought it was good enough to make it into Q2, and you will see why I thought so here in a second. Fastest lap, a minute 28.6, P1 in Q1. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do any better. But we did make it into Q2. It was good enough for P4, actually, in Q1. So we did make it into Q2 as we start our last lap of Q2. First lap, good enough for P9 at the moment. So I definitely went back out there for another run. As you can see at the beginning, we are doing a lot better than our first run. And as we end our last lap, still doing a lot better by over half a second. I probably don't need to finish, but I want to finish anyway. We crossed the line, and the tally is P4. P4 once again. And if history repeats itself, it looks like we might be starting P4 for the race. But there's only one more qualifying to get through as we start our last lap. Our first lap good enough for P6 so far. Doing about even as we did on that lap, as we are struggling through these S-turns. But coming to the end of our last lap here in Q number 3, P7 at the moment. Coming across the line, I try to take that inside line as fast as I can, and we are on pole. We're actually on pole here in Japan. Last time we were on pole was, what, Spain? And we see how well that ended, so only one way to find out how this one ends. And with that out of the way, we are here once again. A beautiful, beautiful day for Formula 1 racing. The sun is out. It's been out all weekend, and that is just good news for Cringy Racing. Today, as they've had a string of bad luck. We have had a string of bad luck in the rain and the game for the second week in a row. I don't know why they did this, but they straight just like jumped right into the grid. So we are here on pole with Hamilton right next to us on first row. Then we got Russell and Perez, Sainz and Leclerc sharing a row, Norris and Alonso, Verstappen and Stroll. Verstappen all the way down at P9. Stroll finishing out your top 10. Piastri and Magnussen, Gasly and Ocon once again sharing a row. Bottas and Albon, Hulkenberg and Guan Yu Zhou, Yuki Tsunoda, Logan Sargent, Jamie Chadwick and Nick DeVries once again sharing the last row. Now, I'm not mad at Jamie. Jamie has been doing great. A lot better than Ayumu Iwasa. However, if I can get pole in this car, Jamie, I know you can do better than P20. But with that said, we're going to head out to the track where 5 lights are now shining bright red, and away we go with the Japanese Grand Prix as I do get a great start off the line, leaving Hamilton and Russell, Perez and Sainz all behind me, all of us starting on the hards, everybody else on softs and or mediums. Why'd I say and or? Nobody is on softs and mediums. Anyway, coming across through the S sections, probably one of the hardest mechanics for me to learn in this game, especially since I'm playing on a controller. I don't have a steering wheel and pedals yet. I am playing on a controller, so a lot of this is very nerve-wracking to me. As you can see right here, I cut straight to the inside. Everybody's smoothly on that curb. I forgot what it was called for a second. Coming around the U-turn, still Hamilton is right there on me as Perez has made moves up into third place. And we've seen it, I just didn't get to commentate on it, but we'll see it again. Jamie Chadwick, my teammate, all the way back in the back of the pack, has made a move on Logan Sargent, She is now in P20. So she is improving. You know, this is cringy racing. JC and CJ, we out here trying to make moves in the Formula One world. Coming to the end of the first lap, down into the chicane. The first lap was led by me, and I was literally, this is probably the most exciting thing I've had happen to me all season so far, as we do finally get to lead an entire lap around a circuit. Of all circuits, it's the Japanese circuit. As you can see, Lewis Hamilton is still gaining on me. We're trying to pull a little bit away from third place, but Sergio Perez, Russell, and Sainz not really letting that happen. As we are, it looks like, pulling a little bit away from Leclerc, who is pulling a little bit away from Norris as we come around our second lap down into, in my opinion, the hardest little section of my life. Those two hard turns, and then this U-turn right up here. We do get it, and we do get to keep it. And we're going to skip a little ahead to the end of lap number 2. As we start lap number 3, DRS is now enabled. Everybody's fighting for that fastest lap, as George Russell is the one to end with it. I'm a little late on the defensive move, as Lewis Hamilton does get by me here. And Lewis Hamilton will, sure enough, show me why he is in a much better car than I am, as he takes that Mercedes through this S section faster than I can ever do. As by the end of the S section, he is close to a second above me. Coming to the end of that third lap, though, I am able to stay within that second. I was able to keep up. A lot of ERS was used. Get that DRS flap wide open. ERS still activated. I'm going to try my best to catch up to him by the end of this front straight into turn 1, but it is not going to happen, as I probably barely made a dent on the gap that he had in between us. Back through the S section once again. Still kind of gaining, but after we get out of here, even a little bit before we get out of here, you can see Lewis Hamilton is still pulling away. Definitely still have some upgrading to do to my cringy racing car. I don't know. We're definitely using Renault engine, so we're going to say Renault, our Renault car at the moment. Hoping to upgrade engine suppliers at the end of this season. Skipping ahead just a little bit into lap number 4, Sergio Perez finally making the move that he needs to make into P2, but not at a good time, as we know the chicane is coming up. And who am I? The best diver in Formula 123. As I do lose my wheels just a little bit there, but I was able to get that DRS right off of Sergio Perez. He does not have any at all, so my DRS flap is open. I'm not going to use my ERS at this moment, because I know it is just impossible to keep up with Lewis Hamilton, but I probably should have if I wanted to get away from Sergio Perez. But I did make it within a second to Lewis Hamilton. And coming through this S section once again, you can see why he is in a better car. Coming up to the U-turn once again on lap 5. Touching the grass just a little bit, so all you people in my comments telling me to go outside and touch grass, there you go, I did. It sent me a little wide into the U-turn as Sergio Perez took the inside. I thought I had the grip on him there on the outside coming back in, but it is not how it ended, as Sergio Perez does get back into P2. But once again, not in the best of spots, as I am still behind him. He does have time to get in front of me by over a second, but I just don't think that's going to happen. As here comes George Russell up the inside. Will he hold on to it? No, he does back out of it as we come around this fast turn. And I thought about diving in on Perez once again, but I knew I slid last time, and I slid there just a little bit, touching ever so softly his backside, as I do get the DRS flap open, ERS activated across the finish line into laps. I don't know why I said finish line, but up into the inside, braking side by side. He thought about keeping it there with me, but he decides to back out around turn number 1. I don't know if that's turn 1 and 2, but definitely around turn number 1. But Lewis Hamilton is 2 seconds ahead by now. There is no point in trying to catch up with him, as lap number 8 is now on the schedule. Perez uses his DRS to get by me. Now, I think he learned his lesson. He's going to back out, get that DRS, which he did. And he's going to use that to show me why Red Bull is a way better car than I am. Because 100%, Lewis was very close to over a second ahead of me by the end of the S sections, but I think Perez actually had that 1 second over me, as you can see it right there at the end here. It's ridiculous. There goes George Russell up the inside, but now he decides to back out of it too. He's playing the game a little smart today. He's not sending me off into weird corners. Coming into the end of lap number 8, I think I just got that DRS by the skin of my teeth, as I never saw Perez's time go underneath a second, but I did get that DRS. My DRS flap is wide open. My ERS is activated. At this moment, there is no catching Sergio Perez, but there is a chance to get away from George Russell back there in P4. I would love a podium finish more than anything. I would also love a pole finish, but that's just not going to happen. Here on lap number 9, I was told to box, but I decided not to box, seeing that Hamilton and Perez, who were both in front of me, decided to box. I'm going to stay out and use that DRS I just got to see if I can pull away from them. As I check my tires here at the end of lap number 10, George Russell finally getting ahead of me. All that fighting that he did, 2 laps I spent out. No. It was 2 laps, though. This would be the second lap. As George Russell passes me just in time for me to get that DRS and just in time for him to go into the pit lanes. Okay. Don't know why he did that. I mean, I would have just stayed behind the person if I knew I was going to pit. I wouldn't fight them and risk losing out in the entire race. But so does everybody else on the grid. Everybody else has boxed, it appears. As we come around to lap number 11, I finally decide to box. As I see, Lewis Hamilton is 10 seconds. Perez 16. Verstappen 16, Leclerc 18. They're all going to pass me for sure. I should have boxed when they told me to box. We get a 2.4 in the box, pit lane, stop, time, whatever. As we can see, I am in P5. Sainz comes across to pass me. Russell comes across to pass me. We're getting out there into turn 1. Norris decides, you know what, it's my turn. I'm going to pass you as well. I am all the way down into P8. Here on the very next lap, a caution flag comes out. It doesn't show much on the game, and I'm glad it didn't, but I had a slight heart attack because I didn't know what the heck was going on. But George Russell has been asked to stop and pull over in a safe location, as he is now out of the race here in Japan, moving me up from P8 to P7. And finally allowing me to beat George Russell in a Grand Prix, as he has also been throwing some beef my way, throwing me off the track in the past video or two. I can't remember which one it was, but it was definitely at Silverstone, and now Norris in P6, where I want to be, as we try our best to catch up to him. As you can see, we are less than a second away as we start lap 16 now. We are even closer. 5/10, a little over 5/10, a little under 5/10 by the time we get into turn number 1, and you can see that he is losing that grip on that back end. Lap 16 into 17, we are a lot closer. We could probably even make that pass right about now, but it's right about here where I decide, you know what, we're on lap 17. I don't want to pass him just yet, because if he uses that DRS to get by me at a crucial time, I don't know if I'll be able to catch up. Lap 17 into 18 is a little bit further ahead than he was last time, but I still have that DRS. Still charging my overtake as much as I can before that last lap starts, and he's still losing his back end on those turns. Lap 18 into lap 19, there was not a lot of excitement going on in this race, as everybody stays about the same. You can see Lewis Hamilton way up there in the front, thanks to me. I definitely helped that out. As I dive down into the first turn over Norris, Norris thought about keeping it side by side, but decided to back out of it in the last minute, because points is better than DNFing 100%. And as we skip to the end of your race, like I said, Lewis Hamilton wins your Japanese Grand Prix, thanks to me for holding everybody back behind him after he passes me. You have Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, P2, P3, P4, Leclerc, P5, Sainz. And because they are so far ahead of me, it's going to take a little bit of a minute, but we finally get our points once again. We haven't had points on the grid since Bahrain, but we finally get some points, and we can close that gap to AlphaTauri, who was 20 points ahead of me, I do believe, and then maybe Alfa Romeo, who's up in P8, where we are supposed to be, as we watch Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez, and Max Verstappen celebrate on the podiums, as they're your top 3 race winners today. Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez trying to close that gap to Max Verstappen. Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez, Max Verstappen, your podium winners. Charles Leclerc with the fastest lap, so he'll get that extra point. Carlos Sainz in P5. Me coming in P6. Once again, like I said, since Bahrain, we haven't had points since Bahrain, and that's definitely going to help us gain on those two teams that we have to gain on. Fernando Alonso, P7. Lando Norris, P8. Pierre Gasly, P9. Lance Stroll in P10. And that is your top 10 finishers of today's Japanese Grand Prix race as we move over into your Drivers' Championship race. Max Verstappen still leads the Drivers' Championship race at the moment, 29 points over Sergio Perez, who was able to shorten that gap just a little bit today, coming in front of Max Verstappen, but not by a lot, as Max Verstappen still came in third, defending his lead just a little bit. Charles Leclerc down into third place. Lewis Hamilton in fourth place, 44 points behind Max Verstappen. Carlos Sainz, George Russell, Fernando Alonso, Lando Norris, Esteban Ocon, and Valtteri Bottas. Those are your top 10 still at the moment for your Drivers' Championship. On to the Constructors. Red Bull still on top by 103 points now over Ferrari, who is in P2, 133 points over Mercedes in P3. Those are your top 3. Top 4, P4, Aston Martin, McLaren P5, Alpine P6. Alfa Romeo has moved up to P7, unless they've already done that and I just completely forgot. My bad, because Haas did drop down to P8. They are back in P8. AlphaTauri, who is in front of us, P9. Cringy Racing still in P10 above Williams Racing. Williams Racing still at 6 points. We're now at 16 points. AlphaTauri with, 12 points ahead of us. I had to do math right there on the spot in my head. AlphaTauri is now 12 points ahead of us, and if I can still finish with 6 points each, that's not 6 points, that's 8 points. 8 points each, I should be able to catch them. Hopefully. Has with 44 points, they're going to be a little bit more trickier to catch up to, especially since my teammate Jamie Chadwick is not experienced enough just yet to get some points, but who knows, maybe she'll come in to the end of the season and shock the world. I sure hope so. I have a lot of faith in her. She is my teammate for a reason. Like I said, this is Cringy Racing, JC and CJ. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to make that stick. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit that like button. If you can't wait for the next video, which I believe is Coda, if you can't wait for the next video, hit that subscribe button. I do try to post a couple of these a week. I'm trying to get through my first season before I post my first F1 Manager 23 video, which I will hopefully have next Thursday, because that's the days that I get paid. I was short on getting it this week, but hopefully I can have it next Thursday. Because I will also be doing that one as well. I'm definitely going to be working on my commentating skills because they need work. They need work. I've gone back and I've watched my videos. They need work. You can tell me. Anyway, like I said, I really do hope you enjoy the videos. I really enjoy making them. For the 20 people of you that watch them, you should definitely share these to your friends. I'm just saying. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have a great day, evening, morning, depending on when you decide to watch this video. And until next time, goodbye.